listen in as we talk because I'm finding this very interesting. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, now I'm going to set the stage because a couple of days ago we had a question on, and we started to question off to our listeners that in the 1950s, a group calling themselves the Roosters made their way to Chicago, and in Chicago they met up with two songwriters that changed their names to the Impressions. And in 1968, they had the number one song in the United States, and it's called We're a Winner. And one of our listeners, Eddie Walker from Crombie's Funeral Home, called me up and identified who those two songwriters were, Jerry Butler and Curtis Mayfield. And shortly after that, your daughter, Katrina, called me. She's listening in to us, by the way, over at Providence, and said, my mother sang with that group. And I said, is that right? And she said, I can arrange an interview for you. So we've got you on the line right now. Tell everybody who you are.
Okay, my name is Catherine Thompson Alexander.
Okay.
And I am the teacher, formerly the teacher, actually started Roosters for Roosters back in the early 50s.
All right, and all of you were students right here in Chattanooga?
Yes, we were. We were all students at Howard High School.
Okay, and you tell a story of how you guys practiced. Was it at your mom's house?
Oh, yes. We were neighborhood, neighborhood kids, and like I said, we all, we came from religious backgrounds, so when you come from a religious background and there's a lot of gospel singing going on and preaching, you have that tendency to have that high tone voice, so we would get together in my mother's kitchen, which is 1412 East 28th Street in the area called Park City.
Okay.
And we would all get down there, and I would be washing dishes, and we would just begin singing, and this was something that we would do basically until it got to singing, sounding real good, to us. And like I said, there was this guy named Wood, and I don't know what happened to him. It's been so long. He started booking us at different places, and then during that time, there was Charles Young, Al Glass, and Joe Burks, which played for the Blues Shepherders, and they would play for us, and we would just really just go out and sing, maybe over the weekend, because we always had our limit because we was at school, and we just really began, to do real well.
Did you ever meet Lucky Scott?
Oh, yeah, Lucky Scott was my neighbor. Now, if you really want to know the basics, you can get with Lucky Scott, Praise Case, any of them can tell you about
I know all of those guys.
Well, yeah, they are like brothers. They were my neighbors.
Well, Joe Burks helped teach me to play drums, and Lucky Scott helped me improve my timing and everything. And when Lucky started playing with Natalie Cole, and they had the Inclines band and everything, I knew all of those guys. Al Glass, I've played with him, the Postman. And when you started with the Roosters, and they decided to go to Chicago, why didn't you go with them?
I don't know. I think I finally began courting and got married, And I didn't think I was, wanted to pursue that type of life, So I just didn't go, I just, got married and then started raising a family, and that was basically it. And then after that, I began working, which I'm working for the Chattanooga Public Schools. Been working for about the last 28 years.
Okay.
So I'm just, just still hanging, around. But we always see each other, and we, when we see each other, we still have that same, image of in common of how we used to get together and sing. But everybody was just great. It's just that musical talent we have, and we always will have it.
Yeah.
And of course, I prefer gospels any day because I played a piano, and I still sing. Every once in a while I can stack up a tune, and that'll never leave because once you have it, you never lose it.
All right. Now, let me ask you, do you sing with any of the church choirs around here?
Well, no, not really, because basically I was a piano player, and I don't really just sing in any choirs. I have, did solos at different places, and of course when somebody asked me to do something, I tried to say yes,
All right.
But basically, no,
Oh, well, this is truly history right here. Now, when they came out in '68 with We're a Winner, did you have any feelings about being there with them?
Of course I did. Like I said, when they first made their appearance, I don't know whether it was Ed Sullivan's show or what, And during that time, I was down my mother's house, and they came on, and I was excited. We all was excited. And as they came on, I think they came on with, Your Precious Love, And I just looked at television, and I pointed to it, and I said, now, I'm supposed to be right there in the middle of it,
Yeah.
But, no, I never did. Like I said, I didn't, pursue that goal, and I'm pretty well happy, that I didn't, but,
You still wonder, huh?
Yeah, I still wonder,
Okay. And you still in touch with a lot of the impressions, right?
Oh, yes, I do. Like I said, I see them periodically because I'm a neighbor of Fred Cash, parents and his brother, and he's out in my community periodically. And usually when I go to churches or some musical affair, there's always Lucky, just as good as ever, on the guitar, and I see Sam, and so it's not that we away from each other and we don't see, but, there's always still that bond there that, we can get in touch with each other.
Did you ever have the opportunity of meeting Jerry Butler or Curtis McKinney?
I didn't. I really didn't. They might have heard somewhere along the way, about me, but I never did. Not personally.
Uh-huh.
Not personally, I didn't. So, I often wonder, actually what was the history. Did some of the boys actually tell, that there was a chick that used to sing. And I think, Fred was pretty honest. And then Richard Brooks and Herbert Brooks, they wrote an article about how it actually happened, which I still have a copy of it.
You do?
Yeah, and of course it's just a little bit told, but not really just the whole history,
Wonderful.
Yeah, so I still have that copy because during that time I had a brother named Emmanuel Thompson. He was a singer too. So, he put it in there also.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, this is wonderful.
Yeah.
And we have this as a question on our Black History Contest, and as a result, now we have one of the original members on the line with us. If you're just now tuning in, I'm talking with Catherine Alexander, and she was the chick with the Roosters, the original group in the 50s that became the Impressions. And it all started right here at Howard School in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And you wash dishes while you practiced, you tell me.
Oh yeah, we would be in my mama's kitchen down there, and I can actually see Fred and Sam, and we would just be round in there, and it seems like as I wash dishes, how you hit them pots and pans, and then there was a note, Sam with his tone, his baritone voice, and then, there was Fred, and we just really just, oh, those were the good old days, really.
Oh, my goodness. You paint a picture of a lot of pleasant memories.
Right, and I believe that we had to do it all over again. We would, which my mom's house is down there, we could get right down there in that same kitchen, and things would just really be just like they used to be,
I believe you. I tell you.
Right.
Well, I am so glad, and I know you have to get ready to travel to your school.
Right.
And I am so glad you took time to talk with us here on the morning show.
Well, I thank you, and I appreciate you calling, and I think it was nice enough of my daughter because they always used to say, well, nobody hardly ever recognized Mom. My mom used to say, and I said, oh, just be quiet. I'm not one of those guys that brag. Sometimes, you keep a profile, and people will find out eventually the whole story.
Well, we're going to try our best to get it out there. I tell you, it's been a pleasure talking with you. I am going to try to get in touch with you. I am dying to see. Do you have any photos or anything of the Roosters or anything like that?
No, I really don't. I just have a picture of Fred and Richard. After after the group separated, I just only have a picture of that. But no pictures of us together.
Oh, I hate that, I tell you.
I do, too.
And did you ever perform at Howard School?
Oh, yes, we did. We performed at Howard School. We used to have talent shows, and, it was just, it was just really excitement, really to know that, hey, we got somebody from, Chattanooga, of the community that can actually just sing and, and perform. And like I said, there's lots of good singers have really come from Park City and really Chattanooga as a whole.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
A lot of talent from here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to hold you. I could talk with you all morning. This is so interesting.
Well, I could talk with you all morning, really, too, just to get to the position. But I have to get and work with those school kids.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for taking the time to tell us the story. It all started from one of our questions in our our Black History Contest. Hopefully you'll be listening to the car radio as we start our questions for this morning.
Okay, then. I sure will. And thank you for calling.
All right, then.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Oh, what a pleasant interview. I really enjoyed that. That was Catherine Alexander. She was a part of the original Roosters, which later became the Impressions. And she chose not to go with them when they went to Chicago, where they met up with Jerry Butler and Curtis Mayfield, and the name of the group was changed to the Impressions. And in 1968, they had the #1 song in the United States with We're a Winner. What a pleasant interview, I tell you. 12 and a half minutes until 8 o'clock is our time. We'll be back with our first question for this morning right after this.